We established in part 1 of this series that there was ample precedent for the formation of a Christian canon. Now we turn to what factors influenced the development of that canon. To begin, here in part 2 we'll lay out some summary statements of fact and argument. Our primary argument has to do with the chosen 27 books of the Canon. These books were chosen by the collective will of the church at large, and formalized as a canon by persons in authority who represented that church. We'll discuss the details of that later on, but for now we need to ask the question, what if someone within the church at large disagrees with this selection? What if, say, they think a few don't belong there, for whatever reason?
You know, I really can't stand the book of James. It uses the word "thee" too much.
Or what if they think the collection could stand to add something?
Hey, you know what needs to be in here? Something by Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. That would be great.
Well, individual Christians are free to choose for themselves what books they want in the Canon, but in doing so they shouldn't demand that the church at large alter their own system to accommodate them. Any group needs a set of rules or guidelines in order to function. To that end, attempts to change or significantly alter the rules should be put under careful consideration. And if they alter the purposes of the group and are not acceptable to the majority, they should be rejected. So if you happen to differ, you have two choices. Either live with the status quo or hit the road and start your own group. Anyway, we shouldn't take any choice concerning the Canon lightly, unless you would care to proclaim yourself to be more in with God than the church councils and the church at large. If you hold a contrary position, then you should develop more and better arguments than the church at large has. The factual aspect of this part has to do with the reception of the 27 books into the New Testament. The sum of the matter is rendered in two parts. 20 of the 27 books were accepted easily. The revered scholar Bruce Metzger, one of the foremost specialists on the Canon, tells us the following. In contrast, 7 of those 27 books had a more difficult time being accepted. That's because the Canon process wasn't just some random effort like throwing books onto a table. It was a dialectical process, one in which books were evaluated by several criteria. In some cases, it was more difficult than others to decide if a book met those criteria. The church as a whole wasn't just accepting books without careful consideration, but scrutinizing them carefully and only accepting or rejecting them with sufficient evidence. And what was that evidence? We'll start discussing that in our next section.